We, the inhabitants of Mexico today, are the result of an intense and lengthy process of racial mixes. First, from the process occurring between native groups that inhabited our country before the conquest. Then, during the term that Spain governed it, and subsequently, from the cohabitation with other human groups. The racial mixes occurring in Nueva España were complex and varied. The results were not only the biological racial mixes, but also cultural mixes were generated. Those that arrived from Spain to inhabit the recently discovered territories brought their customs, their attire, food, beliefs, and traditions merged with those of the inhabitants of the pre-Hispanic Mexico. We can believe that if, as from the discovery, the conquest and colonization of Nueva España, the peninsulars learned to eat tortillas, the natives were taught to grow wheat to prepare bread. During the viceroyship, the cohabitation of Indians and Spaniards, and subsequently of other racial groups that were arriving to the territory, such as Africans, Europeans, or Asians, brought a cultural mosaic of complex diversity and incredibly rich and original. What are the casts paintings? A drawing of casts always represents, as Efraín Castro describes it, a couple, a man and a woman, belonging each to an assumed racial group, always accompanied by their child, all wearing diverse types of attire that supposedly always characterize them socially and racially, with backgrounds sometimes linked to the work they performed, and always with texts alluding to the designations that the individuals painted received within a complicated racial classification. How and when were the paintings of the casts born? Historical documents indicate that the origin of those portraits is because in around 1710, the Viceroy Fernando de Alencastre Noroña y Silva, Duke of Linares, wanted to meet King Felipe V and his court, the racial mixes of Nueva España, in some paintings that he requested from the artist Juan Rodríguez Juárez. Over 100 years, many painters reflected series of casts. These were made in the cities of Mexico and Puebla, and it is believed that they stopped being produced around 1810 as a natural consequence of the Mexican Independence War. Who painted them? Among the signed works, important painters from the Mexican viceroyship stand out, such as Miguel Cabrera, José de Páez, Andrés de Islas, José Joaquín Magón, Juan Rodríguez Juárez, among others. We also have many works of unknown authors, as the portraits are not signed. The term caste was borrowed from the classifications that were made in that period to the animal kingdom, fundamentally from the use given to the word to refer to the practice of crossbreeding different castes of horse, which was conducted as an experiment to improve the races. Today we know that it is determined by its biological genes and not by its blood of the people, such that these assumed racial nomenclatures extracted from those paintings are not true. Characteristics. We can find basic characteristics in the portraits that represent social levels and combine both realistic aspects and idealized from the viceroyship society. They are organized in series made up generally of 16 paintings each, with a different scene comprised of one man, one woman, and their child. The paintings represent attire and valuable aspects of everyday living, such as trades and occupations, as well as an important sample of flora and fauna originating from Nueva España. What were the cast paintings made for? The casts had many simultaneous purposes and meanings. At the beginning, They may have been only portraits made for the Europeans to look at in admiration for the purpose of showing a vigorous and thriving society. After 100 years of continuous production, it is valid to believe that through these images, the New Spain Creoles wish to interpret and understand their own society. The paintings enjoyed great popularity among the Spanish officers and were subject of consumption by a defined public, who either acquired them as worthy and valuable gifts or simply as a product worthy of collecting. The portraits that make up the cast painting gender are found in different public and private collections in Spain, France, Austria, the US, Puerto Rico, Argentina, and Mexico. Between the 18th and 21st centuries, through the demographic explosion, the majority of Mexicans are today the descendants of the castes. Those, the figures appearing in the paintings, are our ancestors. We are a product of the richness of such mixed races in continuous movement that today makes us proud and grants every one of us a valuable caste.